Hello all, welcome back. Bit of a different video. Well, I say different. I'm probably just going to rant about a few things that I've seen going on within my life, within my work, within the different streams of consciousness that are all around. Um, One thing I will talk about is that doing my job and just being very observant to things around, you start to notice certain patterns emerging within people. And one of the things I want to talk about today is relationships. Now, relationship it is very necessary actually. Although you'll often hear me talk about individuality, and I'm all for that. We do learn and evolve from relationship. That is just the way it is, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, when I think about relationships and that I have, the first relationship I have is with myself, and that radiates outwards. And I don't just think about relationships in terms of people. So, because I'm a pagan and because I see everything as alive and connected in some way, I have a relationship to the trees. I have a relationship to the grass. I have a relationship to the sea, to the sky, to the ground. And that's why I've chose to a different picture for today. Because, you know, once you build a relationship with nature, because I've spoke about that recently, um, and how I feel that that is very very important, especially with actually dealing with collective trauma. But when you build a relationship with nature, you start to notice synchronicities. The world of spirit and nature does not talk in the tongues of man. It doesn't speak like I'm speaking now using words. It uses signs, symbols, and synchronicities. And once you become aware of that, your whole life changes. You see patterns, signs, symbols. They're actually called, one school of thought is they're called auguries. And that is just a symbol or a pattern that you see in nature playing out. One of the things I've seen playing out in relationships is how incredibly unbalanced some people's relationships can become, which can be very, very toxic and damaging psychologically to some people. And this does go into boundaries without a shadow of a doubt. I talk a lot about the importance of boundaries because you have to have boundaries with people. The thing with pathological narcissism. Now, I'm going to do a video separately on narcissism because it's greatly misunderstood. I'm actually a little bit sick to death of hearing people getting it wrong. There's two different types of narcissism. There's pathological, which is damaging to other people, and there's healthy narcissism. People don't often realise that. They just throw all their eggs in one basket and think, oh, that's just evil. No, it's not. Not fully. Children are naturally narcissistic at certain age groups as part of their natural development. And actually, the next big video I'm going to do in a slideshow is about child development. But yeah, where am I going with this? So, yeah, you do get pathological narcissists. Now, they will, if you're in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, the relationship will be unbalanced. Without a shadow of a doubt, because the narcissist will take, because everything becomes about them, especially if they're a pathological narcissist. There is a healthy form of narcissism, but I'm not gonna talk about it in this video. Relationship. So, relationships and friendships should always be equal. That means that you don't expect or put unspoken expectations on a relationship. A good friendship is built on trust and good boundaries. If a friend, you know, wants needs you for something, they can ask, but you have no obligation to do what they say if you're too busy, for instance. And a good friend will understand that every time. They will understand that your life might be busy or difficult or whatever. A good friendship, I always think as well, is one that's based in, you can walk away, not see each other for 10, 15 years, come back together and it's like you've never been apart. You're there for each other. You're connected by an invisible bond. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of good friendships around. I'm seeing this pattern a lot, and I'm seeing people's good nature is sadly being abused. And, unfortunately, we do have to put in very strong boundaries with people. And we have to not let people walk all over us or have too high expectations. But that's two way as well. We need to be able to say no. And a good friendship is, or any relationship is not based in any unspoken rules. There should be no unspoken rules to a relationship other than don't abuse my trust and be there for each other. And I see this a lot. It's partially to do with the work I do, but in a way, the work I do gives me a good overview and perception of where people are at, and that also leads into communication. Now, communication, sadly, a lot of people do not know how to communicate because what they do is they become too emotional. And don't get me wrong, emotions are important; they're there for a reason. But I've often said you can't think straight with emotion, and it's the same with communication, really. You need to be clear, set boundaries with people, and people will not abuse them. It's like if you're really unhappy with someone and they've done something to hurt you, it's no good walking away carrying all that energetic animosity without dealing with it. Because what you do then is you become sort of, you carry all that animosity inside yourself, and you become dark when it could be resolved. It may well be resolvable. And a tip I often tell people, people that I work with, or even people that I meet, whether friends or family, whatever, I'll often say that you can resolve things without it getting heated, and how you do that is you communicate effectively. And how you do that is, if someone said something that's hurt you, you be honest about it, and you say, "Can I just stop you for a minute? I just want to express that what you said there made me feel, whatever, ashamed, um, embarrassed, whatever the feeling is. Take ownership of it." And 9 times out of 10, people will apologise because they won't even realise. A lot of people hurt people and they don't even realise they're doing it. And it's about that communication that I think is sadly missing in society at the moment. People don't seem to be able to resolve their issues with people. Instead, they'll carry it around. They'll carry all this negativity inside themselves, and they'll become extremely negative. And they'll project that anger out onto the world. That is avoidance of shadow work, which, as if you watch my channel, that's very, very key to a lot of what I talk about. But yeah, going back to relationships, the beautiful thing about sort of being a pagan-minded person is that you have a relationship with all of nature, because I am nature. I'm connected to it. And I took that photo yesterday. And feel free to leave a comment if you can see anything in this picture. It'd be really interesting to see what you see. Now, yeah, just another thing on relationships is that they should always be balanced. If one person is take, ask all the time, and the other person, feels that the relationship's being unbalanced, you have to address it. Or you walk away. As I've got older and wiser maybe, but I do use the no contact ever again if my trust has been abused too much, because I have self-respect and I have self-love. That doesn't mean that my ego's out of control and I think that I'm better than people, because I know I'm not. I know I've got things to learn. I'm not perfect, but I respect myself enough to distance myself from a negative influence or a narcissistic individual. I don't really have anything to do with any pathological narcissists, because they haven't dealt with their shadow. They haven't dealt with their emotional, defenses that they bring into everything. And I don't want any part of that. That's self-love. So yeah, another thing about synchronicities, as I said, the world of nature, the world of spirit, because they're one and the same really, they don't speak in the tongues of man. They speak in synchronicities, auguries, symbols, things like that. And one of mine, which I'm quite open to share, I have a particular relationship with kestrels. This started many, many years ago, and just purely down to my perceptions, in that nature will always talk to you. And with me, it's often kestrels. Now, I love kestrels anyway. If you look at kestrels in a symbolic way, what are they about? They're about seeing things from a heightened perspective, as a lot of hawks are. Kestrels also, they can remain still as they are looking for food, or if you ever watch a kestrel hover, it's quite a fascinating sight. If I see a kestrel, I'm just in awe completely. I have a very, very deep connection with kestrels. And the other thing that nature always uses to talk to me with kestrels is that if I'm worried about anything or anxious and I'm driving in my car, whatever I'm worried about, if I drive under a kestrel hovering, that situation will always work out in my favour, or the worry that I'm carrying will be resolved, and I'll instantly know just by driving under that kestrel that my problems will be taken from me. They'll be resolved. I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I was training to be a therapist, actually, I was taking one of my final exams, and it was a very tough exam. It took a lot out of me psychologically, mentally, emotionally. By this point, I'd sort of done 3.5 years training, and I wasn't, I wanted to finish because I wanted to do this role. And I never forget that I was very nervous, as people are when, that's completely natural and normal when you take an exam, or there's an expectation to pass something, you do get nervous. That's just normal. And I'll never forget that on the way to that exam, I was driving along the motorway, and just above me was a floating kestrel, and I knew that I was going to pass that exam, and I did. They always show up when I need them, and you can have this relationship with nature too, and all that takes is just a heightened perception. Notice. This is why when I go for a walk in the woods, I walk very, very, very slowly. I walk very slowly, and I take in as much as I can around me. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the trees, the wind. It's a full-on sensory experience for me. And I look for the auguries, I look for the symbols, and they're there. Yesterday, when I took that picture, I was walking in the wood, and I could hear birds of prey calling to each other. And that is magic. Some of the most beautiful, magical moments of my life have been spent in the forest, by a seaside, feeling the wind on my face, feeling the rain in my hair. When you get to a certain level of perception, your value system changes, and you can't really put a value or a price on that. So yeah, relationships. You're in relationship to everyone around you. You're in relationship to the world around you, nature. But relationships need to be boundaried. They need to be balanced, and that's healthy. And I've had to learn that through my life, that some people come into your life, some people go, and that is fine. I do believe personally that everyone comes in for a reason. Sometimes people come in and they soon come out because it's necessary to protect myself. I think it was Gandhi that said, "I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." I love that quote. Yeah, just a few thoughts. My next video will probably be on child development. I've got the slides all done for that. It's just time. But yeah, if you stuck around and you enjoy my work, I'm very grateful for that. I do this for the love of doing it. I do it for myself as much as I do it for other people, because I like to document things, and Oh, the other thing, actually, while I'm on the subject of synchronicities, two things. One thing is that I have noticed 100% is that when people start to come and do therapy with me, after a while they will start to notice synchronicities. And I always encourage it, and I say, once you start to notice these things, they happen more often, and that happens all the time. And I think another thing is as well, people learn to communicate more effectively, and they sort of notice that a lot of the masses out there, unfortunately, do not communicate effectively, and thus they carry an